This video is made with generous donations from amazing furries, just like you. Hey everybody, and welcome back to a little bit of a different tutorial video today. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to pattern a foam template for pretty much any species you like. The species that are probably excluded in this are things like birds or maybe circles. Things that don't quite have the same head shape as, say, angel dragons, canines, felines. You'll get what I'm saying in a bit. Also, you're gonna have to excuse my voice. I was at a concert on Saturday night. And now my voice is completely screwed. But I digress. We are gonna push on. Okay, so basically the long and the short of it is, most fursuit heads will have the same shaped pieces for these things. So you'll probably have the same shaped cheek piece. This is the pattern from my canine head base pattern that I have for sale on my website. Same with the top of the cheek piece. So those cheek pieces are the same. As well as the brow pieces. Ooh. So that's the same, and then you've got your eyebrows. So those pieces are already done. You don't even have to worry about it. It's the same pretty much for every suit. There is some minor adjustments, which I think some of them I'll be able to show you on the space. So I want to put these to the side because they are done. The cheek and the brow pieces pretty much do not change for any species. So what does change when you're changing species? So let's say we have a canine base. How would we make that pattern different, for example, to make a cow? I'm making a cow. So first thing I'm going to do is I have my bucket head base here. Bucket head base. So basically I'm going to turn it on its side so you guys can kind of see what I'm doing. And I'm going to grab a piece of paper. This is just some scrap paper. I printed the rest of the pattern on pieces I didn't need. So I will line up the bottom of the page, or a little bit there, and I'll mark. First line I'll do is the bottom of the bucket head. Second line I do is the bottom of the bit here. Then I'll do a nose, one there, like where the actual bridge ends. And then I'm going to also do one for the top of the eyes as well. So yeah, so as you can see, so these are the lines I've made. I'm just making reference marks at this point. The reference marks are going to tell us how tall each piece needs to be. So we're going to get started on that. Now, to reference how you want this to be shaped, you can either look at the species itself. So for example, let's get up a cow. I'm just going to Google cow furry. That's it. Okay, here we go. Neon Slushy always coming through with the goods. That's a side view for us. So I'm going to take this reference and I'm just kind of using it to figure out what it actually looks like. Cows, when you're thinking of long-muzzled animals like cows or horses or angel dragons, you generally want it to start, the muzzle to kind of start that slope a bit higher up. This cow is no different. With felines and stuff, you might have it a little bit higher up, but you'll see what I mean and you'll be able to play around with it. Alright, so I'm having a look at my reference. It's over here, and I'm just going to start sketching. So as we kind of labeled before, this is the section where the bottom jaw will be coming out. So that's where that will be. So if you can imagine that's the bottom jaw, we want it to kind of end here, roughly. So we can pretty much just start kind of mapping it out. So that's a good start, but it's not quite there. And I might take a couple of iterations before I get this where it needs to be, but we will see how we go. I have a basic shape, but I don't think I'm happy with it. So we're doing it again. So if the reference sheet art still isn't doing it for you, you can get up Fursuits. And you can't see this, but you can position it on your bucket head to see how it looks. See if you want it longer or shorter or however you want it to be. Sometimes I hold it up and be like, do I like it? Okay, let me just add the bottom jaw. And I'll see if I like it any more or less than what I did before. The nostril placement isn't final, it's just to get an idea, and I think that's good. I think that's roughly where I want it. I may change it later. I'm gonna move on to the ears, because that's the other thing that's different, is ears. They will be different from species to species, right? So this cow is gonna have very floppy ears, as most cows do. So I'm going to be patterning this by basically starting by folding a piece of paper in half, because I'm going to basically connect this here like that, and that's going to start the ears like that. So you can kind of see the shape has already begun. Just fold it in half, because then I can cut it out in half, make it perfectly symmetrical. So I'm going to start by making the tips relatively thick, because it is going to be curved, so you want to compensate for that curve by making your piece a little bit wider. So we're going to bring it out like that. Alright, let's cut it out and see if we don't hate it. Alright, so that's the shape we got. So when we actually do this, I think I've actually got it smack on straight away. Let's have a look at the ref and see if it's too big or not. I think these are a little bit too big actually. So you can see that's the ref there. I think these are a bit too big, don't you? Look at Gravatt is. Okay, we're fixing. So I'm thinking I'm gonna put them in like that, and I think that's a good size. But I think now it's a little bit too wide for this width, so we're gonna knock it off a little bit more. And I think that's about right. And don't forget, like, the actual foam when I cut it out will make it bigger, and it won't quite want to sit as flat. It's little, but it's going to be floppy, so when they move the head, it's going to go bleep, 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 and that'll make sense. So let's get started. So we have the piece that we've just made, which is this one here. And what we're going to do with this, now that we have our muzzle piece, is we're going to chop off, we're going to completely ignore the bottom jaw that we've drawn out. Now, it doesn't matter what species you're doing this for. This isn't a cow exclusive tutorial. See? Muzzle piece. Like so. Ear piece. Like so. You can pattern other ears by simply just cutting out a rough ear shape, positioning it on the head like that. See this crease that I've made by putting it on the head? Cut that there. Stick it back on. Or you can use pre-made ear templates. Jillor on Etsy has some incredible ones. Mwah. Absolutely pristine. Beautiful. But basically that is how you pattern it. Alright? So let's, actually, you know what, whilst I'm waiting, let's do another one. So there you go, there's an example of a cow. Okay Google, give me a random animal.
Here's a random number 2.
No. Okay Google, pick an animal.
71.
Random animal generator, let's see. Starfish does not work. Okay, cool, let's do a badger. Badger's a mammal that works. So let's do the same deal, right?
On the website lifescience.com, they say badgers are small mammals.
I'm marking the same marks, so you do the same by putting it on your head and marking out where all of the things go. Okay, so we're gonna do a badger. Badgers are weird little dudes, so let's go badger, side view. Okay, so when I'm looking at this, there's a couple of key features that I notice. 1, the nose is fucking huge. 2, the face is really steeply sloped. Well, not steeply, it's like really sloped, not like the angles that you would usually have with canines. And it curves up at the tip. So, let's have a look. So, they're kind of snipey, so we're gonna bring it out a bit further than the cow, and then we're gonna angle it up a bit just to get that distinctive, like, little thing on the end there. And then, after the nose, which is most of the face, it comes back really sharply like this. That's a good start. That's a good start. But I generally like my muzzles curving up a bit more. So we'll add a little bit more to like have a jowl bit, just to define that smile a bit more. So that I'm looking at, and I'm pretty happy with it. So the nose itself would kind of sit. Oh, it's weird. It's so odd. Something like that. And then add a bottom jaw. Something like that. And there you go. So, you know, I might adjust that, make it even snipier. So, you know, that might be the badger nose that I go with, right? And it does kind of look like a badger. I'm actually relatively happy with that. And then you just cut it out like that. Badger ears. Hooray for miscellaneous piece of paper that doesn't have my tax on it. Okay, so if we look at badger ears. They are teeny tiny little dudes, so we should be able to fit it on this piece of paper. So I'm looking at it, I kind of want them to be round, but like with a little bit of point in them like this, I think. And then I can kind of guesstimate the curvature of this head, like so. And that might be roughly what it looks like. So then, let's cut this one out, and we'll test the fit on the head. I'd kind of want it to curve like that. So as I'm kind of positioning it, looking at how it looks, I think I definitely want to chop off a little bit more on this side here, so I'll curve that back. And I think that is about what we want for a badge. Yeah? Yeah. Really easy, guys. So there's our badger. Use the rest of the pattern pieces that you would usually use, and you're done. That's your pattern. Let's do one more. Let's do one more. One more. A puma. That's a good one. A puma's a good idea. Okay. Puma side on. No, not the shoe. I want the animal. So we've got our side on view. Now we're gonna mark our places again. There, and there. Now, cats are a weird one. Cats are weird because they have less muzzle than you'd think. I see cats and I'm like, oh yeah, it's like a dog, right? No, it's nothing like a dog. So I'm gonna start way above the eyes here. Big cats are honestly not my favorite to do because they all have such a distinct head shape that I'm always like hesitant. That's getting there. Okay, so generally when you do cat muzzles, they're actually really fucking short. You wouldn't think they are, but they are so short. And then, if I'm looking at where this actual nose comes in, it's gonna come in like this. A little kidder nose, and by kidder I mean it could probably kill me. They actually have really short faces, pumas, who knew? Let's test our fit. You can kind of get a sneak peek as to what it would look like on the head. Now we've got that. Puma schnoz. Let's do some puma ears. What do they look like? Oh, they're really round. Okay, so if we're looking at puma ears, they are very round, but I feel like they're bigger than badger ears. So if you draw over a lot of stuff like me, just use another colour pen. Alright, let's give that a go. They're pretty wide, but I think I've got them the shape just about there. So yeah, that actually looks pretty fucking good. Pretty spot on. So I set it on there. You can see I need to take a little bit more off the bottom, so we'll do that. And there you go. Puma ear combined with puma muzzle. 1 and then 2. So there you go. Okay, they've given the thumbs up literally just then. What perfect timing. So we've got our muzzle piece that we have, and as the same with the canine base, we are going to cut it out 3 times from what I think this is 2 inch. I think this is 2 inch since we don't use American units here in Australia. I have no idea. Let's have a look. Yeah, just about 2 inches. It's 5 centimeters, but it's round about 2 inches. So I'm going to cut out 3 of these, stack them on top of one another, like we would usually do for a canine. Let's get those cut out. So I have cut 3 pieces and stuck them together. Now it's time to carve. Let's try not to die though. That'll be less than ideal. So I have kind of vaguely sketched on what I want the front to look like. I'm probably gonna make it a little bit slimmer, but for the moment I'm gonna shave off about 1 centimeter on each side to get it down to the scale that I want it to. So I basically got up my cow, I looked at a cow again and said, what does it look like from the front? Looks like that. And basically I'm just gonna work by eye to carve it down to the shape. You do this with canine muzzles anyway, so it's pretty much the same process, you're just working off a different species. There's not too much I can say specifically about it in terms of tips besides just keep looking back at your reference and changing it to be more like how you want the animal to look. I'm happy enough with that for for the moment. Looking like a cow, which is good. We like things that look like cows and we're trying to make cows. All right, now I'm gonna get on the schnozzles. Schnoz. Just the shape of it that we want. So there we go. Cow muzzle. This isn't permanent, just a sketch on to roughly get the idea. So all we've got left to pattern pretty much for this head is the bottom jaw. The way I first start this is by getting this on the head. So I'm gonna do that real quick. Now we are ready to go. So find the pen that has just disappeared, whatever. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna take our head base and I'm gonna line it up with my piece here. So we're lining this up. So with the foam against that foam, I'm gonna get our pen, we're gonna come in on an angle. So we're coming in on an angle here, like that. And that is where our muzzle is going to end. And then we're gonna just roughly kind of say where it's gonna start. So even though that's a pretty shitty looking mark, we can still work with it. So I'm gonna make it roughly that wide. Of course we can adjust this later on, add little wingies to the side to help smooth it out into the head. There we go. So we're gonna cut this out. Brum brum. Brum brum motherfuckers. Yeet. And I'll probably just do the rest with scissors. Alright. So we'll test the length and stuff, which is about right, maybe a little bit too short, but I think this will sit fine. So that distance is about what I want it to be. So now I'm going to make it thinner, the same way we would do with a canine muzzle. Roughly trim it down. What do you reckon? Yeah, I reckon that's about right. And the bottom jaw is pretty good width. I think I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just gonna get this glued. So that's on. This is the cow so far. This is the main piece. The muzzle is the main piece that defines the species. So I'm gonna go finish the rest of it. I will come back if there's anything that I do differently from a canine or a standard fursuit head to show you guys how it's different. So I'll see you then. Be right back. All right, so it's a couple hours later and we have a moo cow. Looks more like a moo cow when I put ears on it. So that's where it will sit. These ears I will just sew into the fur, but that was pretty much the same process. The only little thing that I did is trim the front of the brow piece to match. So all I've done is I've trimmed the front of the brow piece there to mesh well with the muzzle droop and horns, of course. But everything else is pretty much exactly the same as a canine. Just some funky ears, nothing too complicated. Now I just gotta get ready for lining. But I hope this made some sort of sense and I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial and I can't wait to see what species you make with this method. Even though it's not really a method, it's just how you do it, but you know. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.